Wow, this is really sus. This is sussy baka as fuck at its finest. What is this? Wait, we get the forged copy? You're kidding me. The better player has been identified. Talk about it. Let's go. Best mage player NA. Let him know. Let him know you found out how to master the mage goo on beatsbyash's channel. What's going on, guys? It's your boy beatsbyash, back at it again with another banger of a video. And today I wanted to bring you guys a complete guide on the no minion mage or all spell mage deck that I feel like just about everyone has wanted to be good after the release of the new Whizbang's Workshop mini set with the release of the new early game removal card, Malfunction. And personally, I've been doing very well with this deck. I've had a record of 22-13 while in legend rank, which is just about a 63% win rate. And I feel that is very good. And the reason I wanted to talk about this deck today is because the win rate for the deck on external sites such as HS Replay or Firestone looks really bad, but I have had a lot of success with the deck, and I think the reason that the data does not necessarily represent the power level of this deck is because it is actually a very complicated deck to pilot effectively, and I feel like most people are not playing the deck correctly. So that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about this today. Hopefully I can help some of you guys get better at this strategy and do very well on your next ladder climb. So I'm going to take you guys through all of my card choices, all of my reasonings, and then we're going to hop into a few games where I take you guys through my thought process. So without further ado, let's get into the goo. Alright guys, we are back. Here is the deck list on screen. Feel free to pause the video and screenshot the deck list so that you've got the goo. But overall, I think it is a very consistent deck, and it does a lot of things that other decks do not. It has a very different win condition, being that we do not necessarily care about controlling the board after the first couple turns of the game. We can just allocate all of our resources to go face if we play all of our cards effectively. And I think that is the biggest downfall of where people mess up with this deck, is they try to prioritize removing minions from the opponent's board for too long, and then they end up in the late game with not enough damage spells to close out the game. So the number one tip I can give you for this deck is feel more comfortable using your burn spells early on so that when you get into the late game, your opponent is at a lower health total for you to be able to kill them in the late game. For example, if it's turn 2, turn 3, and you have a lot of cards in hand and your opponent has not developed a minion, I feel very comfortable using something like a Frostbolt on their face, even more so if they're a class that can use a weapon. But the biggest reason for that is the main focal point of this deck is the manufacturing errors. If you haven't seen this card yet, it recently got reduced to 5 mana, which makes it Skull of Gul'dan pre-nerf 2.0. This card is actually ridiculous, but the issue with this card is that if you have 9 or 10 cards in hand, then you basically activate it and you lose the game because you don't get to draw 3 cards off of it. So that's why you want to make sure that you are doing everything you can as possible to efficiently remove cards out of your hand in the first couple turns if you have access to the manufacturing errors, or if you have draw power and you are likely to get it by turn 5. There are also some other examples of that, being that if you went turn 2 Primordial Glyph, you could very easily discover the manufacturing errors and have this to play on turn 3. But that is a big thing I've noticed, and I feel like that's something that maybe a lot of people are not doing correctly who are less experienced with the deck, is that you aren't focused on the early game removing cards out of your hand to get the most value out of this card, because this is a key focal point to the deck. I like to think about this card kind of similarly to the Control Warrior archetype, where Deep Miner Bran basically turns on all of your win conditions. The same thing could be said for the manufacturing errors. Let's say we're able to reduce something like our Elemental Companion or our Light Show, then suddenly we can do an excessive amount of burst damage out of nowhere on a turn where our opponent would normally be safe. That is a very important aspect of this deck, is knowing when to utilize the cards that are reduced based off of the manufacturing errors and knowing when to hold them for a bigger tempo swing on a later turn. But let's go ahead and go through the card by card. This is a pretty standard deck list, to be honest. There's only a couple things that I think you can change. So obviously Flame Geyser is just a cheap spell that also has potential to be buffed by our elemental companion with the +2 spell damage elemental. So overall, just a good value card. Sometimes it does kind of suck the fact you get the elemental just because you want to get cards out of your hand, like I stated with the manufacturing errors. And if you just play this on its own, it doesn't get a card out of your hand because you're adding a card. But there are a lot of synergies to this, just, with spell damage, with just, triggering spells. It does kind of suck when you have the keyboard up and you use this because you get a 1/1. One thing that's nice to know about the keyboard is that if you activate a 0-cost spell, this does not lose a durability, which is absolutely amazing. This card, I think, is the most important card in terms of the mulligan. If you can be on the draw and coin this out turn 2, you are in a very exceptional position because then you can actually just start aggressively throwing your burn damage at face and not have to worry about fighting for the board because this card just develops you minions without having to spend an excess of a mana. So that is very, very important to the deck, and I would say this is the #1 card you want to find in the mulligan for just about every matchup in the game. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the only cards that has an extremely positive win rate in the mulligan as well. So this card's very, very important. Honestly, in some of the tougher matchups, you can make an argument to just full mulligan for this every time, and I would not be opposed to that statement. Next up, we got Frostbolt, the OG. I mean, this is an obvious include in the deck, just a good rate. It's actually very strong right now versus the Excavate Paladin with their Painter's Virtue being such an obnoxious card. So really, really like this card. I think it's an auto-include. Heatwave, I'm only playing 1 copy. I think you could play 2 copies. I just don't think it's necessary, specifically because a lot of times it's actually better to discover off of something like your glyph, maybe something like a void scripture, because when you do that, it actually turns the quick draw online, even though you may not have drawn it from the deck. So I think 1 copy is fine, especially with the addition of Malfunction. This is a really good card, and sometimes when you have your spell damage +2 online, you can just play this when they have no minions and deal 4 face, because when the quick draw is active, it hits the face, which is very, very important. 2 mana to deal 2 damage to the face is completely fine in some situations when you are counting damage, especially when you have the spell damage. We have Infinitized the Maxitude. I think this card is 100% necessary. I see a lot of lists not playing this card, but so many games came down to me having this card. Basically, in any of your slower matchups, like the Warrior, anything like the Mirror match, this card is your win condition because this is essentially your infinite value engine. This card is absolutely insane, and in those slower matchups, like the Warrior, like the Mirror, I'm going to hard mulligan for this card or auto keep it if I have it. Obviously, there are some ways to discover it, but if you can just start throwing burn damage at your opponent, then use your last 2 mana to activate Infinitize the Maxitude, potentially finding you another form of burn damage. It allows you to replace those cards that you use to burn your opponent so that you aren't going negative in card advantage and you are not getting behind in card advantage. So I think this card is really important. This is one of the cards in the deck I do not think you can cut, and I think it's absolutely absurd that people are not playing it because this card is pretty much the main way you're going to beat those control matchups. Next up, we got the new card, Malfunction. I've seen people actually only playing 1 of this. This card is absolutely necessary. Sometimes you draw it and it's redundant, but honestly, if your opponent does not have any minions on the board, that's even better than you just having a dead Malfunction, because it means we can easily just decide to throw all of our burn damage at face and not feel bad for it because our opponent isn't threatening us with any damage on the board. Next up, we have Primordial Glyph. I would say this is the second most important card to keep in the mulligan, just because typically on turn 2, you don't feel bad setting yourself up to play a discounted spell on the following turn, since most decks aren't going to be pressuring you for that much at this point in the game. And this card can allow you to find, your manufacturing errors for 3. It can allow you to find your elemental companion for a cost of 1, set you up for some combos on future turns. So this card is very, very ideal to play turn 2 if you do not have the Cosmic Keyboard. And hell, even if you have the coin and go Cosmic Keyboard on 1, Primordial Glyph on 2, that's literally insane, because now you are actually developing a body on the board and you aren't being set back because you paid 2 mana to do something in the future. You actually get value up front, which is absolutely amazing. Now we have 2 Stargazing. This card is very, very strong. I think that's the reason why some people play only 1 Malfunction, but I like this card a lot. It's just you really need to know how to use it and what turn it is good to use. Typically with this card, I realistically don't want to use it before turn 5 if I can afford to do so, because this card can find you Primordial Glyph, Malfunction, and as well Light Show, and you really want to be able to play the card that you draw off of this in the same turn so that the spell casts twice. And for that reason, since there is a chance to get the Light Show, if you play this on turn 4 and you're like, I really want to get a Primordial Glyph, and you end up getting the Light Show, it just feels really, really bad, because then you spent 2 mana to do nothing this turn and you didn't get the additional value. But this can be one of your win conditions turn 5 and onward, because if you get the Light Show, it casts twice, which means it's going to increase the future damage for the light shows that you will play for the rest of the game, which is absolutely amazing, especially if you have the spell damage +2. Next up, we have the Void Scripture. This card, honestly, I would be willing to cut this down to 1 copy. I do think it is a high power ceiling card. My issue with this card is, in the early game, I want to be getting as many cards out of my hand as possible, and you really just want to hold on to this as long as possible. So in those aggressive matchups, in those fast matchups like the Pain Warlock, this card just really, really feels bad when you open it after the mulligan, because you know you don't want to be playing this in the first like 4 to 5 turns of the game, because it's very likely you get shown 3 cards that you will not get to cast for free. But when you do play this in the late game, it can be considered a form of a win condition in itself, so that is very nice. Maybe you get a Firelands Portal when they have no minions on board, and then you go face, and you also just play the Firelands Portal that you just got, dealing a total of 12 damage. So this card does do a lot for the deck. I think it's definitely more beneficial in those slower control matchups where you're not going to be dying early. So if you're going into a lot of aggro, you could definitely cut this card down to 1, but it is by no means a bad card in the deck. Next up, we have Elemental Companion. I did not realize how insane this card really is until I played a lot with the deck. This card actually contributes to so many combos and so many ways to end your opponent, and that's one of the most enjoyable aspects of this deck. Is while it may seem linear that you're just throwing damage to the other player, there's so many ways that you can get there, and so many insane combinations that each game feels like a new experience. So that's what I really love about this card. To be honest, I thought that it was bad because it was random, but in all actuality, you typically feel happy getting 2 out of 3 of the forms being the spell damage or the -1 cost reduction. The 4/4 elusive just doesn't do a lot for our deck, but specifically in the Mage mirror match, it can be pretty decent. That's like the only time you actually want that one, because your opponent has a difficult time answering it if they do not have a malfunction. But this card is very integral to a lot of your combos. Let's say you go Manufacturing Errors into the Elemental Companion. You save this until the following turn when you have full mana again. Then you can play this for 1. Let's say you get the -1 to spells. You can then combo that with Reverberations. Now you have -2 to spells. Maybe you discovered another one and you just get 3 copies of the -1 to spells, and it allows you to just pull 20 damage out of nowhere when you were only at 6 mana. So this card is absolutely insane. The same thing could be said for the spell damage elemental as well. So by far, this is one of the most important cards in your deck. You just need to make sure that you are being conservative with this card and you use it at the correct time, because sometimes if you just play this as an early tempo play, you get -1 to spells, then your opponent just kills it on the following turn before you actually got any value out of it. It feels very, very bad, just because you know the full potential of the value from that specific elemental. So one of the best tips I can give you is make sure you're holding on to this for a turn where you can take a large advantage of getting the spell damage one or the -1 to cost, because those ones are very, very relevant pretty much in all matchups. Next up, we've got Light Show. Talked about this card a little bit before. It's one of the win conditions of the deck. Since there's so many Discover mechanics and as well the Elemental Companion giving the +2 spell damage, it can be very easy to increase the beams to 4 or 5 and then have the spell damage to where they do 4 each, and then all of a sudden this card's doing like 16 damage. So this is very, very important in the deck. One of the cards that I think you can feel comfortable just throwing on the field in the early game if you have nothing else to do, try to win those 50-50s. Although I'm not usually the guy who wins those, I still want to get it out of the way, so that way in the late game, if we discover one off of Infinitize the Maxitude, the beams are already leveled up to 3 or 4, and that works very, very well with the Elemental Companion. Next up, we've got Molten Ruin. This is a card that you should feel very, very comfortable to forge in the early game, because when you get like an insane combo turn with the Elemental Companion reducing -1 to spells, it can do a lot of damage out of nowhere. And remember that when you use this card while it is forged, it will do the 3 damage to the same target. So if you have to use it on a minion that has 3 HP or less, then you are only going to do 3 damage there, and you miss out on the additional damage from the second copy being cast. But the ability to just get a random spell and as well do damage is very, very nice, because this is one of those cards where you can throw it at the opponent's face and then you don't lose value because it replaces itself. So definitely a cornerstone to a lot of the win conditions in the deck. Reverberations, talked about this card a little bit before, but I didn't think this card was as insane as it was. I do have to say that one of the biggest implications of this card is just making sure you hold on to it as long as you can, so that you have at least one to use with an Elemental Companion, because like I addressed before, if you get either of the 2 good Elemental Companions, having at least 1 Reverberations increases the ceiling of your damage potential by so much. So this card is very important not to waste early on, although it's always just good value if your opponent has a Titan and you can steal it and just blow their back out by using a Titan, because as we all know, Titans are broken. Moving on, we got Fireball, one of the OG cards alongside Frostbolt. 4 damage deal 6 is amazing, and it feels even better with the manufacturing errors. I actually just love the interaction of reducing this to 1 with the errors, because it just feels like the most amount of damage you could potentially be doing for 1 mana that your opponent has ever seen. And a lot of times just holding on to that damage until the end of the game pays a lot of dividends, because all of a sudden your opponent thinks that they're safe at 12 or 15, and randomly you're just able to burn them out at 5 or 6 mana. Next up, we've got Spot the Difference, another great card to reduce by manufacturing errors. One important thing I really want to point out about this card is I actually selected a floppy Hydra on one occasion, and I thought that was amazing, because I'm like, okay, I get reoccurring value. That's the 2/4 that I believe shuffles itself back into the deck with doubled stats after it dies. Unfortunately, with manufacturing errors, this card was not reworded in the same way that the Highlander cards like Deep Miner Brand were, where it only matters if your deck started with no minions. So I ended up shuffling a floppy Hydra into the deck off of this card, and then my manufacturing errors did not reduce the cost of the cards that I drew, which was very, very bad. But overall, this is one of the best cards to use with your Cosmic Keyboard, and using this early feels very, very good, because it allows you to get a card out of your hand, and it allows you to develop 2 minions for 4 mana, which is very, very exceptional, because it makes to where our opponent has to dedicate potentially all of their turn to removing our field, which means they won't have any mana to develop their own, which encourages us even more to spend all of our mana and throw it at their face. I think one important thing to note about manufacturing errors and Spot the Difference is, if you're using Cosmic Keyboard, I typically like to use at least one of my durabilities on this to play one of these cards, so that you at least get a sizable body off of this, and that can as well pay dividends, because it makes it even more inefficient for your opponent to answer our board. Honestly, if you can go Cosmic Keyboard and create a 2/2, create another 2/2, and then ultimately coin for manufacturing errors, and then get a 5/5 while also drawing 3 cards, it makes you feel very, very good when you end up drawing 3 cards that you might not want to use on the turn that you actually played this card, since paying 5 mana and doing nothing the turn this is activated could set you back very far behind. So make sure you're being conservative and you're thinking about what cost of spells you are going to want to play with all of the durability of the Cosmic Keyboard. Manufacturing errors, we've talked about this enough. This card is literally insane, and that's going to round off the deck. If you have any questions about the card choices, make sure to let me know down below in the comments, and let's hop into these games. Okay, so we're playing against Rogue. Not sure how I really feel about Rogue. We have a 60% win rate. We're 3-2 versus Rogue, but I don't think I have a big enough sample size. Elemental Companion is a decent keep. Malfunction It just depends. Like, if he's playing the Playhouse Giant deck, then this doesn't really matter. If he's playing the Excavate Rogue, then this can be very good. I think I'm going to go out on a limb and just full mull this, because I really want to try to find the keyboard. Finding the keyboard going second is just so strong. Okay, so we don't have a keyboard, we don't have manufacturing errors, but we do have a lot of early game plays, which is what I'm trying to do. Okay, so it looks like he's playing the Playhouse Giant deck, I believe, if I'm getting the right signal. I think we have enough resources in hand at this point. I'm willing to just send this at the face. One huge mistake I see people make all the time is just not being willing to throw away cards in the early game because they think they're losing value. But you need to get rid of cards because you have so much resource generation that the early damage actually ends up mattering. Quick pick. We don't really care about that. If we want to, though, we can just Frostbolt it. Yeah, I think I'm just going to Frostbolt it. Just hope that we find card draw. I don't think this deck has a lot of lifesteal. I think it just comes down to, like, can you just get 3 Playhouse Giants at the beginning of the game? But ultimately, I just don't think that's a good game plan. I don't think this deck is very well positioned in the meta right now because the Painlock deck basically does what this deck does, but with a much higher ceiling, right? So he just used prep for that. That seems kind of bad because he didn't even get to kill anything. He's really just trying to hope that he hits a Playhouse Giant here and I can't answer it. But we have a malfunction, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, so we got a manufacturing errors that we can coin next turn, which is completely fine. I think I'm willing to just burn this. We could Frostbolt again and then get this out of our hand, and then next turn coin this. Maybe that's actually a little bit better, because number one, it mitigates his ability to draw a card here, and number two, it gets more resources out of our hand so that we can fill back up with the errors. So I think I'm going to go with that line. Once again, this seems kind of risky because I'm throwing away a lot of resources, but once you understand our win condition, I think it'll make a lot more sense. Coining manufacturing errors is very strong, especially if you have access to the keyboard. We do not in this situation, but we already have one malfunction, and so if he plays down like double Playhouse Giant next turn, having access to this plus one other form of removal basically answers the best thing he can be doing, so I'm not really too worried about this matchup. All right, let's go ahead and see what we can get. Big Gamba in the chat. Big Gamba boys. Okay, I believe. Okay. Okay, it's kind of nice. All right, so we can use this later with our Elemental Companion. So obviously there's no valid target on the board, but I'm probably not using it on one of his 8/8s unless he just builds too big of a board where we can't answer. Likewise with this card, I'm going to save this until we can actually play the spell we get off of it. I think this deck is very beneficial to have a deck tracker for that reason, because you do want to know what arcane spells you have in your deck when you use this, so that you know what the percentage chance is to hit them. So we have 1 Light Show, 2 Primordial Glyph, 1 Malfunction, so it's more likely than anything for us to get a 2-costed card or less. So in this situation, if we only have 4 mana, we feel fine playing the Stargazing, right? Okay, so he's definitely going to get probably 2 Playhouse Giants. Then he's going to play the Breakdance, bounce 1 back to the hand, I believe. But he did use one of his preps early, so that's a good sign for us. I feel like we're in a good position to just clear his board no matter what. All right, there's the first one. And there's the Breakdance. 2 8/8, will that get the job done? I don't know. Alright, there goes the second prep. So he's going to get the second Playhouse Giant, I believe. I think there's only 2 mechs in the deck. Yeah, he's just going to get the second Playhouse Giant. That's fine. Completely fine with us. Okay, so we have the Reverberations, which is really nice here. Yeah, I think we just used both the Reverberations to copy this twice. Slam 1 in here, slam 1 in here. Then we can go Malfunction, just answers the full board. This is very nice. I know it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's just automatically killed by this. I don't know why I was thinking too much about that. Yeah, so that was just a guaranteed clear. Insane turn for us. Now next turn we can go with the Stargazing. Try to find a Primordial Glyph, and he's out of his Playhouse Giants. That's just GG. And see, this deck isn't very good. If your opponent can out that board, you basically just automatically win because there's nothing else that the deck does. If you guys have any questions about the deck while I'm playing, make sure to let me know. I'll try to do my best to answer them because I want this to be as informative as possible so I can bring you guys the most competitive content. We're going up against the Death Knight. Not 100% sure how exactly this matchup goes. There are multiple forms of Death Knight currently in the meta. I think the most popular one is probably the hand buff one, but I do think that the Highlander one has some merits as well. We're going to go ahead and full mulligan here, try to find our keyboard, try to find our Primordial Glyph. Okay, we get a Primordial Glyph, so we have something to do turn 2. Fireball, not something we really want to see right now. I think because he can just put out so many minions, I'm probably going to hold this. This isn't a matchup where I just want to throw this at the face. Okay, so we end up getting the Cosmic Keyboard. Obviously, I'm going to throw this down before the Primordial Glyph. Very, very strong top deck for us. Next turn, we could go Glyph. We could go Flame Geyser if the situation requires it. Mining Casualties is a card that honestly is kind of hard for this deck to answer. So we end up getting the Manufacturing Errors here. This is very important because now I need to manage my durability so that hopefully we can use our last durability on the errors. And we're not going to be able to play it next turn, so I need to be conservative about what I do this turn. Okay, I think this is just completely useless. I highly recommend never picking this card. This card has yet to ever come up for me. This card is decent. I think there's definitely some potential with this card. Obviously, it's just a worse reverb, but it can just as well combo with our Elemental Companion because we don't need to attack with the Companion anyway. This card, I'm just not really willing to take the risk on this rate. Plus, it'll trigger another durability on our keyboard. So I'm just going to go with the buy one, get one freeze. And then I guess we're just going to pass here. Hopefully, this soaks up at least one of his recruits. Because there aren't a lot of efficient answers in this deck for that card. It's going to get him a lot of value. It's kind of irritating. Okay, and he's just going to trade in both right away. That's actually very interesting. I think if I was in his position, I probably would have just traded the 1 because it's a difficult card to answer. So now here we have a couple options. We could just Light Beam, try to hit the 50-50 2 times, even though that's not very likely. Or we could go with the Fireball on it, which I just don't think is like an efficient answer. How much do we care about the card draw considering we don't have a minion and he doesn't have any other minions immediately on the board? I don't think we care about that a lot. I think I'm willing to just play this specifically because I just want to use this early on so that when we discover more or find the second one, that the beams are going to be increased when he has a better board or when he has no board so that we can do more damage and potentially close out the game. Okay, we just hit the 50-50 twice. We're just nice like that, chat. We're literally just nice like that.
I fucking knew it! Oh!
Big brain plays, chat. Always hit the 50-50. All right, no harm, no foul. We just hit the best possible situation. We have a 3-3 you can't answer. You love to see it. Next turn, we go with the errors. We're not going to burn any cards, and we get a free 5-5 out of that exchange. Optimal line of play here, chat. Let's go. Okay, so he's having to waste this card. I feel like that wasn't like the best time for him to do that, considering he knows we're probably going to go errors this turn if we have it, and then we have a 5-5, but that was really good for us. So let's go ahead and drop this down now. I can't put enough emphasis on how important it is to manage the durability, because getting the 5-5 here was so huge for us, because now he may have to use a decent amount of his mana next turn to answer this, which means he probably can't develop nearly as good of a board as if we didn't have this, so then we feel better about sending damage face, right? We're like one Elemental Companion here away from just doing a massive amount of damage, right? Especially since we have the 1 mana buy one, get one freeze. If we end up getting like the spell damage one that's +4 spell damage, these end up doing 7 each. This ends up doing 10. That's literally 24 damage off the bat. And then we have another Fireball, so without him having any heal, which he probably will have, that would be game. So we can just go ahead and pass here. We're at 8 cards, so we're not at any risk of burning right now, which is amazing. Okay, so he ends up getting a 9-9 and an 8-8. A little bit frustrating. Oh, he's got double 8-8s. This guy's kind of a hoss. Ooh. That was very good for us. Very, very good for us. So I feel like we're almost forced to use this reverberation just to kill something, right? If I do this, though, we cannot afford to go double malfunction. I think that's completely fine, though. If we need to, we can burn these, but we'll do it on a case-by-case basis. All right, Big Gamba in the chat. This is the Big Gamba deck. You know, you got to believe. All right, we hit the 9-9 here every time, I believe. Okay, we're nice. Nice for what, Well, that was perfect, because now we can just trade this into this for full value. Do I want to freeze this? Not necessarily, but it is a lot of damage, so it's kind of like damned if we do, damned if we don't, right? I'm going to go ahead and do it. We don't have an elemental companion right now. And I feel like leaving him with this is just too much value. Although we do get a frozen guy, he still does have to spend some amount of mana to answer it, right? Okay, that's irritating. Alright, never mind. We should not have frozen that. Ultimately, there was no way I could have, like, known that he was going to have that, so it does kind of suck. But we do get heavily punished by top decking the Elemental Companion. Because if we still had the buy one, get one freeze, he wouldn't have an additional 8-8. He probably would have something else on the board because he wouldn't go Reska. But we can just still do it. See what we get here. Not as good, but it's fine. Okay, well, everything costs 0. Count our damage. This is 6, 12, 15, 18, 20. That's kind of crazy. I think we might just be fucked here, chat, to be honest. Play this for fun, because, like, why not? Big Gamba. Was not optimal indeed. Was not optimal, I repeat. But I am willing to just do this. I think I'm willing to freeze because he could play Quartzite Crusher and just regain health, which we cannot allow him to do if we want to win this game. And then I'll throw one Fireball since it's discounted at this point. Yeah, I'm not going to use this. I'm just going to wait. Not ideal, but we still definitely have an out here. If we get, like, Infinitize the Maxitude or, like, Void Scriptures, we could easily come back. Or the Manufacturing Errors. There's a lot of potential lines at play. That's very bad for us. The 3 health here definitely heavily matters. So at this point, I think I'm looking to discover an AoE off of a Void Scriptures, probably. Like, if we got, like, a Blizzard, that'd be cracked. Can we get a Blizzard in the chat, please? Big Gamba for the Blizzard, I believe. Alright, we're at 10. So this is like, might be... Okay. Okay. So we have a chance here. This really sucks because we have to do this first. But I think it's completely necessary to live here. Big Gamba's in the chat. Let's go. I'm boogieing down, boys. Not optimal by any means, for sure. So if we stargazing here, what does that do for us? Maybe we hit the light show. And then that just doesn't do enough damage and we're still just fucked. Does this stop us from dying? I don't think it does. So now here, I feel like we're just, like, forced to do this, which I don't really want to do. Always kill the golden one so that your opponent has less clout, even if they beat you. It's looking really bad for us. We'll probably lose this battle, but we will win the war. In the words of Big Sean, today I took an L, but tonight we bounce back. Okay, that's scary. Sir, why are you doing this? This is scary. Okay, wow. What a BM. We die to a snake oil. You hate to see it, but, I mean, it was just very unfortunate that he got both of his giants on a key turn. If we had, like, one more turn there, and he didn't play the giants, I wouldn't have had to use spell damage on them. Therefore, we would have kept the reverberations, and there was a high chance that we were actually going to win that game. The Reska pit boss definitely put the nail in the coffin for us, though, so I can't be too mad. He did have a 1 of legendary. You can't win every game, but it doesn't take away from the fact that this deck is definitely very, very high power ceiling right now. Okay, another Death Knight. Kind of hoping to go against a variety of decks so I can showcase the different options you want to be doing in every matchup, but that it is what it is. I'm honestly not a big fan of Malfunction in the early game from what I've experienced so far, because it just doesn't play very well into Mining Casualties, which is kind of like the cornerstone card to play on turn 2. And if he just has something like a Gold Panther, once again, there are better options. I think the keyboard is pretty important in this matchup, to be honest. But I could say that about every matchup. Okay, keyboard manufacturing errors. We're online, boys. Let's go. Talk about it. If you know, you know. Cosmic keyboard time, baby. Let's go. Not done yet. Let's go. Okay. We're online, baby. Yes, sir. Talk about it. Okay, he's not developing anything that sticks around, so that's awesome for us. I guess we could just pass here, or we could void scriptures set up for later. This gives us a 2-2, so I'm willing to do this, specifically because I want to be putting something on the board so that he doesn't develop. Because I don't want to be spending mana to remove his units, so I'm willing to just do this here. Typically, I feel like the game doesn't come down to void scriptures in the late game, in this matchup specifically. So while I am against playing this in the early game, and I just told you guys that in the deck profile, I'm going to do it here. Okay. This is a very tough decision. Could go stargazing, but stargazing could cost us because then we'd be using multiple spells in one turn, getting rid of all of our durability before we can use the errors. I think I'm going to take this and then just hope that we don't have to use it next turn to clear the board. Hopefully we can just use the malfunction next turn to clear. Because getting the 5/5 elemental from the manufacturing error is just really huge. Not an ideal hand, but we still definitely have a possibility to win here. Okay, hell yeah. Really, what you want to watch out for in this matchup is if you draw any other plague than the one that increases your cost by 1, then you definitely can win. The one that increases your cost by 1 is really, really toxic because you might have been setting up for a potential turn where you have a specific amount of mana in order to do your combo. And if they remove your potential to do that combo because one of your cards costs 1 more, it basically stops you from doing anything that turn. So it was really good that we didn't draw that one this turn. And we only have 1 in our deck, so it's not like that terrible right now, especially with a lot of cards still in our deck. One thing I do want to point out that really sucks about this matchup is I found out from experience that if you activate manufacturing errors and draw a plague, it actually does not decrease the cost of the card that you draw, which will replace the plague, because for some reason the plague is decreased in cost, and so it actually lowers the value of this card. So hopefully he does not put a plague into our deck next turn. I don't know if I want to do this. I think I just want the 5/5. I'm going greedy, boys. It feels bad not to get the full value out of this, but I think the 5/5 is more important. Okay, very, very good turn for us. He did not put a plague into our deck, and we do not have to worry about his board, so that was very, very awesome. Okay, and then we get to Elemental Companion. Considering we already have 2 reverbs, that is very, very good in this situation. Let's go ahead and fire off the errors. No plague, I believe. Big Gamba. Okay. Okay, no plagues. We're lit, boys. We're lit. No plague season, baby. A quick question for anyone watching this video. Does anyone actually enjoy plagues? I have not met one person in this community that actually enjoys the plague mechanic to date. So if you are that one person, make sure to let me know down below in the comments. And if you are that one person, I will dislike your comment. So be prepared. Okay, no plague. We're lit. We're lit. Let's go. So what are the chances of our stargazing hitting here? So we have 1 malfunction, 2 primordial glyph, 2 light show. So the chances are more than not that we're going to get a usable card, which is pretty nice. Or we could go for the elemental companion. I kind of want to save this 1 more turn. I think I'm going to go with the Gamba here. Ah, that really sucks. That was the one card we didn't want to see. RIP, chat. Well, I guess let's fire off the Void Scriptures here. Not amazing, but it could hit something that's usable. All right, we can go for this. I'm fine with that. Sweet, sweet. I guess we'll go with the 2 face damage. I don't think this matters. It just burns. I'm actually going to freeze face here, get a card out of her hand, and stop him from using a weapon. And then once again, I would like to use this, but I'm going to go spot the difference. Amazing. Amazing. Cracked, cracked. We're literally insane. Literally insane, chat. This card is definitely always going to hit our Elemental Companion, I believe. As long as you believe it hits whatever you want, right? Elemental Companion, Reverb. What's really good about this situation is our malfunctions are out of the deck, which means both of our stargazings are guaranteed to hit a high value target. Okay, now it's guaranteed to hit a glyph, and this one is just dead, which kind of sucks, but at least we have a guaranteed shot here, right? So this card is good most of the time. Sometimes it can fuck you over, though. I think it's time to use this, because then if we deal 6 damage to the board, pretty sure we're going to be able to trade this into whatever we want, right? Okay, so this did not kill both of our minions, I believe. Okay, awesome. We are overloaded, though, which is kind of stupid. Okay, we did not hit the Elemental Companion. That's fine, though. It hit our Light Show, which is good. Light Show, kind of nice. Obviously, I'm going to throw face at this. Alright, let's see. Oh, that was dirty. Not optimal, but it does double cast. Put him at 10. RIP. RIP the dream. Okay, we have a bait and switch, and we're just overloaded 2. The fact we got overloaded 2 is so low roll, but we do have a chance to beat him as long as he doesn't have lifesteal. Okay, Headless Horseman here doesn't matter. We have no minion on board. Sure, he gains 5 health, but we can easily push through that. We shoot 4 beams with this. That was terrible. That was literally so bad. Okay, I really need a freeze here. I really want to do this specifically because we may not be able to use this later on when he has minions for full value. And this can still hit a Primordial Glyph. Let's play this for 3. Deal 8 damage. Alright, now we have 3 remaining. I'm just going to go Molten. Replace the card. Next turn, we're going to go for an Elemental Companion. What does this do? Summon 2 copies of Demons. Okay, we got a dead card. You love to see dead cards. He is at 4. He needs lifesteal. He needs the Quartzite Crusher. We did not leave a minion on board, so he can't play his own Holy card that has Rush, Reborn, and lifesteal, so that's fine. That's the other thing about the reason we didn't go Elemental Companion, is because if we did that, no matter what the damage potential was, he could still play his 3/3 with Reborn and lifesteal. Okay, that's not good. If we hit the Plague that gives him back 2 health, we might be in trouble, boys. Alright, he's just going to give us the game. I mean, to be fair, we had multiple ways to find potential damage, and he was at 4 health, so I understand why he quit out. We definitely just pressured him very early on, and one of the important things to look back on that matchup is we didn't give him a lot of opportunities to leave a minion on the board so that he could trade into it and get access to lifesteal. I don't know if he was playing the Quartzite Crusher, but that is a very irritating card, and that is why I froze his face very early on. So far, so good. I feel like I've done a good representation of how to pilot this deck. I'm just hoping to get some more different matchups to really talk about the different lines of play, right? All right, I'm keeping Malfunction this time. Malfunction is 100% necessary. I'm definitely going to keep the Manufacturing Errors now. I honestly think after further testing that maybe you don't want to keep this card in the Warlock matchup, specifically because you may not get to see that turn, right? But Malfunction is definitely really strong because it means we can just hold this till turn 3 when he has a sizable board. If he does not have mining casualties, then this is just an insane AoE. Okay, yeah, I'm definitely Frostbolting that. Alright, let's get that out of there. Hopefully he doesn't just punish us by playing Excavate. If he's playing the Excavate version, then we don't have the freeze right now for his hero, for the weapon. Okay. I mean, we need to do something, right? Like, I don't want to just wait and do nothing. I'd rather use this than this because it's more likely that this is going to be live sooner than this for the second bonus effect. I think we can just take this. We'll just hold that. Having a second one is really nice, right? So, what does this do? So, he's actually playing a Highlander deck. That's very interesting. I don't think that's really the best build to go right now, but that's okay. Do what you want to do, my man. Yeah, let's just do this. So, this is tradable, but that is a 3/4. The chances of us getting 2 rush is just not really worth it. But considering he's a 3-4, I'm going to take this. And then we can get the 4-3. 4-3 trades with it, so that's fine. Not like this ability really matters, but a 4-3 is better in this situation because it trades into it, right? Alright, and he does have the Painter's Virtue. So a little bit of a fuck up by us by using our Frostbolt, but it may not come into play. Okay, the lifesteal is kind of huge there because we're mitigating damage. I'm surprised he made that trade. If I was him, I'd probably just trade into this and leave us with that so we don't get the death rattle, but it is what it is. Those are very beneficial for us. So now we can just fire off the manufacturing errors. It's really strong here. I think this is one of the best matchups for our deck. And we end up getting the Elemental Companion, which is really, really strong. Because we can just save this till next turn when we have full mana. And we do have a Reverberations. So if we get like the -1 to spells, we're basically cracked. I think I'm willing to just fire this off right now. If we get a Frostbolt, I'm willing to hit it at his face. So this can add us a Frostbolt. I think for that reason, I might be willing to take this. But the Stargazing could get us a Primordial Glyph or a Light Show, and it would be reduced to 0. All we would be doing is mitigating his weapon for 1 turn, which I don't think is that huge. I think I'm going to go for this. It just gives us more value, right? And now we can just pass. We have 8 cards in hand. Next turn, I'm very much willing to play this and just see what we get. If it's what we want, we can go with the reverb and combo off. If not, we can just hold off. It's not like he can develop a lot. Okay. I mean, that was pretty good for him, but I don't think we really care about that at this point in the game. Potentially our Malfunction just straight up clears it, so. I'm pretty sure his Reborn will activate in the middle of the animation, so it fully kills this. I'm not 100% sure on that, though. Alright, well, let's see what we get here. Big Gamba in the chat. Elemental Companion for the win. Okay, spell damage, that's fine. That's actually really, really nice for us. I think we have to do one of these, right? Okay, so he gets his 3-1, that's fine. We could do this, just shoot 4 beams. 2 4 damage beams. I'm gonna fire off this, actually. Okay, that's nice. Really, really nice for us. Very, very nice. You love to see it. He's at 9. I'm gonna fire this off now because it gives us more damage. Alright, sweet. We could just trade this. Cool. Cool. Okay. We're in a great position. So he has to remove this. As long as he doesn't have lifesteal, he can't afford to do a Zilliax right now. This gives him 2, but that's also 2. So if he has to attack into this, there's nothing he can do. He needs a Tigress plushie to not die here. He really needs a Tigress plushie. Okay, so he has Watcher of the Sun. That's completely fine. Goes back to 10. Sure. We do have this, which shoots 4 beams, so. Can just fire this off. If 2 of the beams go face, it's just lethal. I'm willing to take the risk here. Okay, so 2 of the beams did not go face. RIP. So this could get us a Malfunction, which would suck. Or it could get us a Primordial Glyph, which would be pretty nice. I think I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit. Risk it for the biscuit, chat. Okay, you love to see it. Let's go. Let's go. That's hot. That's so hot. Ooh. We could get this, but this is more damage, right? Well, this is reduced by 2, though. Playing this for 3 is kind of dirty. I'm getting that for 3. It might be kind of greedy, but I think it's better. It was really important that we didn't end with a minion here, because now he cannot use a Tigress plushie. He cannot use a Zilliax to trade into anything. Get any lifesteal off of that. What is this? Rush lifesteal. Okay, so we just played around that, which is great. Now we can just go with the Fireball face, and that's just GG. Alright, very well sequenced by us. Unfortunately, our opponent was just not ready for the onslaught that Elemental Companion is with the +2 spell damage. Combined with the manufacturing errors, we ended up with a Wombo combo to end out that match. So very, very nice for us. So we're going against a Warrior. We once again have the opportunity to redeem ourselves. I'm going to do the 2 damage face. Just want to get cards out of the hand. Pressure him early, right? Okay, sweet. The boy Jonathan has joined the party. We're lit. So we're gonna go ahead and use this. None of these are ideal, but I'll take this just for the chance for us to get a light show. Because we need to get a little bit lucky in order to win this game, just by how much armor the warrior player can generate, right? Ooh, the Pumpkin King. Alright, so if we play this, we're guaranteed to be able to play whatever we hit, so let's just try it. Alright, that's fine. We're giving him an additional value turn, but that's fine. I'm cool with it. I mean, this is lit. We just answer his board, right? Well, that's a malfunction. I mean, obviously we have to do this, right? Just too much value. Nah, let's just answer this, and then we can play our elemental. Alright, so this is a pretty nice draw. I guess you could say so. We do have a high chance to get a light show, so I don't really want to do that right now. I guess let's just do this. It's not, like, optimal, but we can do that. We can trade this into here. We're getting rid of his armor, and then we can find his spell. And then we still have this for next turn. Ooh. I guess we're going manufacturing errors next turn anyway, so we won't really need the draw. Okay, you went vampirism, which is correct every time. That was amazing. Let's go. You don't have to put vampirism. You just have to put 3. It's kind of hard to figure out the first time, but once you get the hang of it, it's pretty fun, to be honest. So I guess I'm just going to play this and hope we can play whatever we draw. That's 1. We can't play that. Okay, we can play that. We're lit. We're not going to burn here, boys. We never burn. Okay, you're going to play a Burrow Buster and have nothing to trade into it. That's awesome. Give it +2 attack. That literally does nothing. Let's go. Nice. Nice, sir. I now cannot just manufacturing malfunction for 0 here. Tough decision. I mean, this is 0. We could reverb. Nah, I'm just going to do this. Want to get cards out of the hand. Right? Play this. We hit the 50-50 every time, I trust. Yep, we hit it. Let's go. Now we can go for the freeze. Use this to find another spell, which would be amazing. More damage, more damage. Oh, let's pick this. It gets us 2 cards that do decent damage for the rate. We might need another Frostbolt if he plays a weapon, right? So we'll just keep it like that. And the Pumpkin King is super low right now. Let's go. Oh shit. He thinks he's big brain by playing the Ignis because we just used a Frostbolt. He doesn't know we have another one, boys. He doesn't know. Alright, this is a tough decision. I think we start with this. Could just play this. Like, this is kind of nice. This is a 50-50 to hit a light show or a Ignis. But we already have one of those. I'm going to go with this. It might not be the best decision, but we'll see. We will see. Oh shit, we beat the boss. Let's go. Poggers in the chat. Guess let's rock with this. Alright, we have to do this. We didn't have to, but I wanted to, right? Well fought, Jonathan. Yeah, you just, you type 1, 2, or 3. For me, I don't have to type commands. I think once you join, you don't have to type command. You might just have to type 1, 2, or 3. I'll have to look at it some more. Okay, we just countered this guy's sanitize. That's literally hilarious. And we can play another counter spell. This might have just been the secret to beating this matchup. It's kind of funny. I'm going to do this again. He hasn't put bombs in our decks, so like we don't really care, right? Wow, that was dirty. And he just used a sanitize. So, this is a 3-4. They're all 3-4s. Doesn't matter. It doesn't die to Aftershock, so I'd rather have that. Okay, this buffs up our 1-2. That's funny. Alright, we did more damage. Let's go. And then I'm going to Infinitize. Ooh, piece of candy. Honestly, do we do this for the additional damage? Probably not. We're already clearing his armor, so. If we had more mana, I would have counterspelled for sure. One thing I'm realizing about this matchup is it's actually really important for them not to be playing 8-cost Ziliax and be playing 9-cost instead, because the 8-cost Ziliax makes such a big difference having elusive versus the other one not. Because you can't reverberations, right? So we'd probably play this. Well, actually, we kind of just want to do this. Like, yeah, this is just too good. It's just too good value. I believe in the dream. Okay. Okay, that's nice. That's real nice. Almost as nice as this Mexican bread. We're about to sauce this guy up. Okay, we'll get the copy of your next card. We love to see it. Free value. Ooh, this is kind of dirty too. Free value. Love us some free value, but this gives us AoE protection though. Randomly, this is actually kind of clutch. It puts him in a really weird situation. Okay, and our potential just to kill him out of nowhere dwindled very fast. Play Brawl. He's going to shield block. Okay. Well, he doesn't have Brand yet, so he can't even bomb boss. When they can't bomb boss, you feel very, very safe. Shield block, I guess. Okay. Swing at our 3/3. You give us a shield block. That's dope, bro. I love that play. It was so cool. Maybe I shouldn't have got the 0-2. Maybe we should have not gotten the 0-2. Maybe we just trolled. Let's see it. I believe. -1 to spells. Ooh, +2 spell damage. That's it. That's it. I'm him, boys. I'm him. Let's go. Okay. We're going to do this. I'm literally him, boys. Talk about it. This does 10. Is it better just to reverb and then just play this again? So this does 18. And this is literally 28 damage. If we play this though, then it would increase the beams to 8. And then we do 8, 16, 24. And we don't have to use this. That was actually amazing. That's so funny. Alright, now he's just 8. Wombo combo. That's how you beat Warrior, baby. Talk about it. Unless he just pulls something out of his ass. Like, there's no way he does that, right? He's used like 30 cards that give him armor. Like, I don't believe. We get Reborn. Okay. We keep our 1/1 here every time. Oh, he's going Bomb Boss. No Brand Bomb Boss. That's hella risk, bro. You are a risky motherfucker. No bomb, no bomb. Dude, please. Not my fireball. Okay. What? Dude. There's 3 bombs in our deck. Bro. What? He destroys our fireball and our other fireball? You actually have to be kidding me. That was so toxic. What the actual fuck? This guy went for the 3 bomb boss. We literally had such a high chance to not draw a single bomb. He literally just took our 2 most impactful cards. Actually insane. I guess we can do this, right? That was so silly. This guy's a silly bastard. I believe in the Gamba. Well, he can't play Ziliax at least. This is gonna be close. Okay. Sure, dude. You're at 10. There's such a high chance we just kill you. Such a high chance we just kill you out of nowhere, brother. Bro, what? You're kidding. That's so toxic. Okay, hold up. Count up damage. This is 6. He's at 12. We need to find 6 more, I believe. I believe. No. No, that's not what I asked for. So this will cost us 5. We have to find 6. I don't know. Yeah, we got to do this. Damage, damage, damage. What? What the fuck is this? I've never even seen this card. That was so sad. There's like nothing we can get here. I think we're just dead. Wow, the fact he got the armor vendor was so stupid. It's actually just so stupid. Damage. Almost damage. We find damage here. We activate this, it always goes face. Trust. We negate his spell that gains him armor. There's no way he has it here. It's not like he could just go Zilliax and just gain like 30 health. Like, I don't believe it. He actually just got so lucky. We should beat him here every time. That's not even our fault. Like, the sheer fact that he just hit double bombs with 11 cards in deck is ridiculous. Specifically, it hit our fireball. And it was like the fact he had to hit that both times in a row and hit a 1 in like 7 chance for our fireball was such insane RNG. And then he gets that. Wow. This guy's toxic. Okay, let's negate that. Let's negate that, buddy. All right, go to 12. I'll do it again, brother. Don't doubt me. I've literally got this. I'm locked in, baby. No bomb, no bomb. 1 bomb, 6 cards. Never has it. We get Frostbolt. We get Molten Ruin. It's literally a lock. Don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. I'm dirty, okay? Let's go. I believe. I think we have to do this. We have to do this. Well, this will actually cast for free. And then we play it again and freeze face and we're not dead. Of course. Of course he gets my 1 card that freezes face. Of course. The reason I picked that is because I thought we had enough mana. Yeah, the fact that we didn't freeze his face, that really sucks. I think we're just dead. I think we're actually just dead. So we take a burn damage next turn, we're going to be at 7. But we did stop him from developing more than 1 minion, so if he has a Zilliax, it's just 1. Our Infinitize the Max dude has to find something cracked. It literally has to. We could Excavate, though, get Rock, and then we're lit. Excavate, get Rock. I thought that the bomb wouldn't be classified as a spell, and that's why I did that. It was a very, very close game. Okay, he filled up his board. What can he do? There's no way he can do anything. He just passes, right? He always just passes here. No armor spell. No armor gain spell. I don't believe it. Armor spells aren't real. Armor spells aren't real, boys. They're not real. We need to deal 8. So every good turn starts off with this card, right? It's always just -1 to spells or +2 spell damage. Okay, +2 spell damage. Okay, it's dicey. Big Gambas in the chat. We always reveal Fireball. Always Fireball. I believe, chat. What the fuck is this, chat? What the actual fuck is this? All right, we always reveal Fireball, chat. Always Fireball. I believe. I believe. Big Gamba in the chat. Wow, this is really sus. This is sussy baka as fuck at its finest. What is this? Wait, we get the forged copy? You're kidding me. The better player has been identified. Talk about it. Let's go. Best Mage player NA. Let him know. Let him know you found out how to master the Mage Goo on beatsbyash's channel in beatsbyash's official live stream. We did it here today. We defeated the Dirty Warrior player, and Deep Miner Brand will never unleash his wrath again. Let's go, boys. You already know what it is. As always, thank you so much for watching me demoralize these fools. And if it's not the goo, it's got to go. Peace.
Ooh, is that indigo?